CNBC TV18 Weekender.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC TV18 Weekender. We're at this drifting track in Thane and our guest today is an avid racer, in fact the only Indian to have won the European Ferrari Challenge. He is equally known for his love of fast cars and racing as he is for being the chairman and managing director of the Raymond Group. The man behind this 90-year-old conglomerate, Gautam Singhania, is our guest on this edition of The Weekender. Hello and welcome to The Weekender. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Singhania.
Come, let me show you the first one.
Oh, great. So, Mr. Singhania, this is your very first racing car. When did you get this? Tell us a little about it.
This is actually my first track racing car. This was bought, I think, in 1990 when the Sri Perambadur racetrack came up and they had single-seater racing there.
Tell us a little more about your racing passion. Of course, there are very many things you're interested in. When did you first pick up racing? When was the first time you professionally participated in a racing competition?
Well, I started racing cars, or at least got interested in cars since I was 4 years old. So
4 years old? Were you driving a car when you were 4 years old?
I was driving carts at that age, when 40-year-old primitive carts.
Are you talking about the little plastic kit cars?
No, they were with engines. They were go-karts, and
wow.
So started with that. They didn't have too much power, so you used to throw water so you could slide. So I learned a lot of car control with that, and then slowly, when I got my license at 18.
Okay.
When I got my license at 18, I started with rallying, which was the first thing I did with the Premier Padmanis. And then took it forward. I was more interested in track racing. So we started with Sri Perambadur, which was the first purpose-built race circuit that was built in India.
Yes. And
this car was the FISMI, what they call the Formula Maruti, with 800cc engine, and it was the state-of-the-art car that India had at that time. But
in the 1990s, we're talking, yes.
Early 90s, well, 1990 exactly. And really, today I shudder to think how we drove it, leave alone raced it.
Does it still function though?
Yeah, it's working condition, it's fully functional, you can drive it around.
So, what is your favorite car now? That is, of course, the one you started out with. What are the other cars you're really into now? I
don't have a favorite car because you can see there are lots of cars parked here, but they're all different. Whilst they all look like drift or drag or track cars, they're all different with different purposes. They have different driving techniques, and they're all very educative in its own and unique in its own way. So that's a drag car, for example. That's specifically for the drag circuit. It's a different thrill. This is a different kind of drift car because it looks very similar to that, but this is a V8. That's a straight six. This is naturally aspirated. That's turbocharged. When you drift in a turbocharged car, the whole technique of drifting is very different from a naturally aspirated V8 because the power comes in very differently. So there are a lot of little things. These are four-wheel drift cars which are completely different.
I can obviously tell you have a lot of love for cars. So, if it weren't for the Raymond Group and that whole business that you had to take care of, would you pursue racing as a full-time profession? As an
I would have at one
Definitely.
time. At one time I would have probably, but I know my responsibilities. I had to be here to run this group, and
yes.
I still enjoy my racing. I raced professionally last year, or semi-professionally, whatever one does. But
the Ferrari Challenge.
The Ferrari Challenge, and we can talk about that later. But so I am trying to find the balance, and I think it's a good balance because you're racing when you want to, and you're still working.
But what takes priority? Between juggling between your family life, your other obligations, business, of course, which takes up a lot of time, and finding time for your hobbies.
You've got to find the balance. It's how you find the balance, and it's just proper planning gives you the balance.
But what is your regular weekend like? Is it planned at all, or
There's no regular weekend. We're doing so many different things. I could be at my farm. I could be racing. I could be doing some motorsport event. I don't know. It all depends. It's just planning. If you plan yourself And I plan for 1 year ahead.
I am told you're a very meticulous planner. In fact, if I name a date, you'll know what you're doing on that particular. Is it true?
Pretty much, because we plan ourselves, we plan our business, we plan our fun, we plan everything.
But you remember each day what you're doing in the
pretty much in my calendar, in my head. So I pretty much know 6 months ahead what I'm doing in my head.
You know what you're doing on the 25th of December, for instance?
25th of December, I'm in Kana.
What are you doing on the 7th of January?
7th of January is a weekend, if I'm not mistaken. It's a Saturday. So I am in Alibag with my school friends.
You know, back to racing again. Tell us about some incidents you would have had. You know, it's a dangerous sport, of course. Have you had some close shaves? Any stories you'd like to share with us?
Every racing driver has a few accidents.
Yeah.
In the challenge last year, I had a big accident. It was not my fault. There were 2 cars involved in a brawl.
Yeah.
And I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Got taken out at 180 kilometers an hour. Now to get knocked out at 180 km an hour is a bit scary, but you know, you live.
And yet you continue doing this.
Well,
wow.
it's fun.
I'm sure it is. Tell us more about your early life, you know. Of course, you had a very illustrious father, this huge business to take care of. When you started out, was there a lot of pressure to perform, to live up to that standard? How did it start?
Well, obviously, when you come from a business family, there's always the eyes on the next generation. Is this kid going to succeed? Is he just son of another rich kid? You know, rich father, stuff like that. But you develop into it. You know your responsibilities. And obviously, much later in my life, I found balance in my social life, my work life. So I actually am in a good space where I balance myself. So I get a lot of stuff done.
I see. You know, even early on, I believe you went to Cathedral, you went to a couple of other schools in Bombay, you were in college, and you already started working by the time you were in college. In hindsight, do you think, you know, not doing an MBA like just about everybody does, is that something you regret, or do you think it has worked out perfectly fine without?
It's fine. I think I'm doing okay.
No, you're doing very well. So, but you know, since kids today think of MBA as the obvious route to take to begin their career in businesses, of course.
So, you know, I mean, if I'd done an MBA, it would have been a good thing. But I think what I lost out in doing an MBA, I gained in getting into work much earlier than most of the other kids would.
At what age did you start?
So I was in business at the age of maybe 17, 18. I used to come here to this complex and train 16, 17, 18. And I was the CEO of a business at the age of 22. I ran a newspaper at the age of 22. So
and it's been 16 years since you've been the chairman of...
Yes.
And the managing...
17 now, I think. 16, 17, something like that. But, so I started off as the CEO of a newspaper. Then I started off the launch of Kama Sutra, which was in 1990. I think I lost out on doing a formal MBA, but I sort of gained hands-on valuable experience, and that's sort of helped me good. And you know, doing business in India, a lot of it is what MBAs can't teach you. You know, it's different environment, different management skill set.
I remember reading somewhere your daughter already comes to the business.
Yes, my elder daughter started coming when she was 5.
My God, wow, it runs in the family.
Yeah, my elder daughter's designed a collection for Park Avenue this year, which has gone into the stores. That's her input, and she's a sharp young girl.
We'll continue our conversation with Gautam Singhania of Raymond Group on the other side. Stay tuned.
CNBC TV18 Weekender. CNBC TV18 Weekender.
Welcome back. We're in conversation with Gautam Singhania of the Raymond Group. Mr. Singhania, of course, now we're at your, hangar. You have a helicopter here. How often do you get to fly? And is your love for flying as great as your love for driving cars?
Well, you know, a lot of people look at this as luxury, but I think in a city like Bombay, it's a necessity with the amount of traffic that you have.
Yeah.
I come here quite often to Thane, and you know, sometimes in the evening in the monsoons, it could take you 2 hours and 3 hours. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm here at least twice a week, and I'm traveling a lot.
Where do you usually fly off to? I mean, when...
From here to the race course. It gets you back into the center of the city, and
I see.
It's predictable 20-22 minutes from here to my house. Otherwise, you know, if you, in the morning, if you don't leave early, it could take you an hour and a half. In the evening, it could take you 2.5 to 3 hours to get back. It's a big waste
Cutting
of
traffic time.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. You know, you spoke about luxury and how this is many people, you know, is seen as flamboyance, as, you know, the image that you have, you know, it's not just as the chairman and managing director of the large Raymond Group, it's also your love for fast cars and luxury and the good living. Does that image ever, have you felt that it has come in the way or hurt you in any fashion?
See, I am what I am. I'm living the company tagline of the complete man, so we get away with a lot of stuff under that name. But
well, you know, talking about your tagline, since you brought it up, the complete man, you're positioning Raymond as, you know, a men's, you know, brand. It's for men, it's the suiting is for men. Of course, you have other brands. What about the women? I mean, they're in the workforce too. I am working as well. Is that a segment of the population or your customers that you're missing out on with this branding?
so, women's wear is actually a completely different business.
Yeah.
Whilst it looks like apparel, etc., it's a very complicated subject.
Yes.
Having said that, we've done a bit of work in it in Park Avenue Women, and Park Avenue Women is growing. So for somebody like you, you've got the Park Avenue Women brand, which has done well for itself, you know, workwear and stuff, and that's slowly now growing. So we've got the whole new collection this year, which is very well received, and I think moving forward, it will grow, but it won't grow exponentially like our menswear segment.
You know, your clientele, of course, ranges from, you know, the older, you know, trustworthy, the, you know, loyal customers, to now the younger generation that is constantly looking for new things, new designs, new fabric. How do you cater to all of these segments, make the brand, you know, likable for everyone and everyone?
Well, Raymond has so many different offerings, from 150 rupees a meter to 300,000 rupees a meter. So the amount of SKUs we do is huge. We also understand the tastes of consumers because we sell north, south, east, west. We've got our own distribution. We've got our own over 1,000 stores. So it gives us a lot of information as to what the consumer is looking for. And that's really the competitive advantage of this business, because the trade tells us what's going on.
Is that how you keep the brand relevant even after 90 years of business?
Sure, because I mean, the only way to keep it relevant is to give the consumer what he wants. And if you're listening to the consumer, you sort of give them what they want.
You're talking about the changing demands of the consumers. Fashion is being consumed online more and more in this day and age. Of course, you have your own Raymond outlets and you have your own website where you sell products. Are you seeing a stiff competition coming in from the online retailers?
Well, online is always a new channel. But in India, people like to go to the store. They like to touch, feel. This is a product which is touch, feel. It's not like buying an iPhone 7, which is a commodity. A commodity item is much easier on the internet, a television, a music system, where people do their research and buy it.
Yeah.
People like to come, they like to try on a garment, they like to see if it fits them well, they like to feel the fabric. They come with relatives. In India, they come with relatives because they want a reassurance that, oh, is it looking good on me? They're not that confident. The Indian consumer is not that confident.
I see.
So I think there'll be coexistence of the two channels.
But say, what proportion of your sales are coming from the online customers?
Oh, it's very small. It's very, very small today.
Okay. Okay, you know, also talking about your vast experience, I mean, you've been heading this group for over 16 years now. What have been some of your biggest learnings? I mean, what are the surprises that this job has thrown up for you so far?
Well, I think you come up with surprises and challenges every day, and I think your job as a leader is just to solve those problems. And, you know, sometimes you can't solve it yourself. They say the most intelligent person in the room is the collective wisdom of the group. So if you get the right people in the right jobs, I think that's really my job.
On that note, we'll take a very quick break, but stay tuned, we'll be right back.
CNBC TV18 Weekender. CNBC TV18 Weekender.
Welcome back to CNBC TV18 Weekender. We're in conversation with Gautam Singhania of the Raymond Group. Mr. Singhania, getting down to some business now that we're in one of your shops, what will be the expansion plans from here? You know, you've come a long way. Of course, there's been ups and downs in your business cycle. What will be the key focus areas for expansion from here on?
I think lifestyle spaces, which our expansion is. We're setting up a big facility to manufacture linen in Amravati, which is part of the Make in India campaign. All our facilities are having their regular capex and expansion. But really in the textile apparel space is where we are focused.
You promised to, I think, start that manufacturing facility by March 2017, if I'm not wrong. Is that on track?
We committed in April this year that we'll start at 15th April next year, and we stick to the date. So 1 year prior to the inauguration, we have set a date which is external and internal, and we'll stick to our commitment. So I think it will probably be the first facility that was announced at Make in India that will get started.
But tell us more about what is this capex plan you have? What are the areas you'd be investing in? Would it be fabric? Would it be outlet expansions? Where
it could be a combination. It could be manufacturing for fabrics. It could be retail expansion, design development, people. We're setting up a facility in Ethiopia for apparel, so it's a comprehensive strategy.
But what is the capex? I mean, what is the expenditure, investments you're looking to make in all of these?
Different businesses have different expenditure, but so Amravati would be about 130 to 150 crores. Ethiopia would be about similar to that. Retail expansion is being worked on because it's continuously dynamically changing.
And would there be any new brands you'd look to launch? I mean, you already have a few well-established ones.
We've got 4 strong brands today. Raymond, Park Avenue, Parks and Color Plus. It's tough enough managing 4 of them, so no, we're not having any more kids.
No consolidation plans either?
So we're focused on 2 brands. We're focused on Raymond and Park Avenue as our 2 power brands to make them big brands in the next 3 years. And Parks is again doing very well in its segment. Color Plus has its own segment. So I think we're in a sweet spot with our brands. What
could you promise to the investors why they'd stay invested in your company? What are the kind of targets you could share with us?
See, if you're looking at the long term,
investors, yes,
you are really in the best spot today. I mean, in the menswear segment, you are leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else. And we continue to invest in the business without looking at short-term returns. We have an objective of what we want to do in 2020, and we are investing for that. We have a strategy that's laid out for it. And we believe it's always the returns are going to be the hockey stick type. So it'll come along, and then when all your investments sort of fructify, they will sort of kick in.
What is the group level debt you currently have, and could you share what deleveraging plans you would have?
Well, we are very comfortable on debt. We're at 1:1 on a group level, so I'm not concerned about that.
But are there some businesses, for instance, that you would look to cash out of, tools and engineering for one?
Well, at the right price, I guess every business is cashable.
But is that something you're actively considering, cashing out of that
business? There's nothing actively happening till it happens.
Anything on the table?
Nothing that I can talk about.
I see. But is that something you would consider in the near future?
We're always looking at enhancing shareholder value. So if, everything is at sale for a price. We got the right price, we sold cement. So the group has got the DNA. We got the right price, 785 crores. We believed it was the right price, and we got out of it. So had you asked me 1 week before, I would have said cement was not for sale. But so the mindset is shareholder value creation.
Talking in terms of your outlets, by how many outlets would you expand, say, Park Avenue in this year? How much are you investing to? What are the new geographies you're looking to open stores in?
Well, I think each brand has its own strategy. Say, make to measure, I think we could open another 15 to 20 this year.
Okay.
I think in Park Avenue we could open another 30, maybe 35, somewhere there. So each brand is different.
And would there be new geographies you're entering into?
Well, it could be. I mean, Raymond is now up to class 9 towns. So part of it is new shops, part of it is renovation of old shops, because what was an advantage that you started 50 years ago getting into retail is also a disadvantage because some of your shops are very old.
What about your global play? I mean, how are you positioning Raymond as a global brand? I mean, Ethiopia, of course, is one market you've spoken about.
As a manufacturing market.
As a manufacturing market. In the consumption market, if I were to ask you, what are the geographies you think?
Well, you have 3, basically the US, Europe and Japan. These are 3 geographies for your consumption. Of course, LATAM is there. America still seems to be doing very well, but we're doing better because we're giving a full solution. We give the design inputs, the fabric, the garmenting, the total solution. And I think companies prefer us as a strategic partner rather than a supplier. Because if they buy fabrics from us and then take it to Bangladesh to convert, if one gets delayed, the other gets it. Here I'm an end-to-end responsibility for them, so they like that.
And from the consumer market point of view, the geographies you named, other than those, anything else?
I'm more focused on just focusing on few areas, but trying to grow them significantly. In fact, what we did a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, we took a cross-section of our customers, and below a particular base, we just dropped them. There were negative margins, they were too small, there was too much headache servicing them, and we just said, forget about it. We just focus. If I took my top 5 customers and got 10% more business from them, it's a far better strategy than following 25 customers that don't give me 10% of that.
And before we wrap up, so far in your journey, as you took up this leadership position at the company, what you set out to do, have you been satisfied? Have you been able to meet your vision? Has the company done as well as perhaps you anticipated, or are there some areas where growth is not as good?
You can always look at the glass, is it half full or half empty? And yeah, you always must aspire to do better than you do.
Yeah.
So for CEOs, it's always a question. You've never done good enough. Because if you feel you've done good enough, then you've lost the hunger and the fire. So there's a continuous challenge. What next? How can we do it? What's the next big thing? As long as that drive is there, you're sort of on the right track.
But what you had in mind as you took on the company, have you been able to achieve that?
I would say yes and no. I mean, obviously there are areas you achieve, there are areas you don't. But I think if you take the overall scorecard, you are in the right direction. You are the #1 textile apparel brand in this country. In the worsted fabric segment, you are 10 times in terms of volume to anybody else. Could you have done better? Maybe. Sure, anybody could have done better. In retrospect, anybody could have done better. But I think we're okay. And I think now there's a different platform, we're working on different things now. And I'm happy to be in the right direction.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the Weekender. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
CNBC TV18 Weekender.